Hey folks, I have here a Ruger SR22 rifle, not to be confused with the other SR22, which is a pistol. I kind of wish they would have named this the SR1022, but instead, as a writer, when I'm writing articles, I have to delineate. I always have to throw in the rifle or pistol, whichever one I'm talking about. They should have separated the two. Anyway, it's off on a tangent there. This here is a good old-fashioned metal gun. I kind of hate to say old-fashioned when you're talking about military-style rifles, but there's not a lot of plastic on this thing, especially in the parts. Some of the accessories, of course, like the grips and and the sights are plastic. Pretty much everything else on here is an alloy. So it's got some heft to it. If you're a fan of metal guns, you will like this gun. Not much plastic. When I first pulled it out of the box, the first thing that popped to mind is I had a 1022 back from a long time ago, and I always bought aftermarket parts, collapsible stocks, all that stuff. And it seems with this rifle, I don't want to say they're putting everybody out of business, but this kind of gets rid of the need to buy all those cottage aftermarket parts. You could just buy this and it is made. It's complete. Has everything you need. This here is essentially a standard 1022 rifle in which they've beefed up the barrel a little bit, give it an AR style barrel, and they slipped it inside of an all aluminum chassis that has been made to Ruger specs by Nordic Components. If you've heard of them, it's an American company. They make accessories and stuff like that, gun accessories. It's an outstanding company. It's cool to see them team up with Ruger. But this chassis, made by them. Looking at this, you would never know that there is a that there's a 1022 inside, but when you take it apart and pull it apart, you'll see it's really just a 1022 receiver that's in there. And of course, all the parts. One of the bonuses to this rifle, the 1022 has been around for a long time, and it is the #1 selling 22 rifle, or the most sold 22 rifle of all time, statistically. So you will always be able to find magazines for this thing. Always. There are always 1022 magazines out, especially these little 10 round jobbies. Now then, of course, there's the 25 round magazines in the BX25. The SR22 rifle features the super reliable Ruger rotary magazine that I was just talking about. Has Hogue monogrips. It has a 6-position buttstock, flip up adjustable sights, and these sights are well made. They're sturdy. They're polymer. Like I said, one of the few polymer parts. But there is a positive up and a positive lock down, and seem to be pretty tough, pretty well made. Of course, it has the Picatinny rail optic mounts on the rail here and then here, if you wanted to change the front sights. And it has a mid-length mil-spec diameter round handguard tube, so any accessories that would fit on an AR-15 would fit on this. And there's drilled in here slots that you would be able to put additional rails on the top, bottom, both sides. And this is, as you see the holes here, it's ventilated to help it cool. It has the same flash suppressor as the Mini 14 and the SR25. It's got the same one on there. And it has a half to 28 thread to take this off for suppressors. It comes in 2 models. This one here, the standard model, for those of us that live in free states, and a second model for states that think people are hurt by flash suppressors and collapsible stocks. That one, of course, does not have a flash suppressor, and it has what looks like a collapsible stock, but it does not, in fact, collapse. Now, when I first got this rifle, I fired over 100 rounds through it, probably approaching 200 rounds, and I only had one issue, one jam. No other problems. Now, I fired that out of a BX25 that I had for a while. I actually disassembled it at one point. When I first got it, I had a lot of issues with it, and then I read online you should disassemble them, oil them up real good, reassemble them, and they work fine. And I didn't have any issues out of that magazine. Like I said, I only had one stoppage the whole time. Now, when I did my ammo test, I shot 350 rounds from 7 different manufacturers through this. I used a brand new out of the box BX25 magazine, and I had all kinds of issues. Out of those 350 rounds, I did half of them. I had 2 of these 10 rounders, and I had the new BX25. I did not have the used one. I only had the new one. And I had 9 stoppages total, and out of those 350 rounds, and all of them were feed issues from this magazine. Or not this magazine, but from the BX25 that I used. I did not have one stoppage out of the 10 round magazine. So what that tells me, when this BX25 was first introduced, a lot of people wrote about the issue. And this has been over 2 years ago, and this tells me that Ruger has not fixed the issue. So apparently it's still hit or miss with these magazines. A company like Ruger by now should have fixed any issues with this, so it's kind of disappointing to see that. But do not let the magazine issue detract from the rifle, because the rifle, it's an awesome rifle, it's an excellent rifle, and you would like this rifle. Shoots very well. The rifle itself is very reliable. You know, if you have an issue with the magazine, then clean it and it'll work fine after that. I just didn't get a chance to take apart and clean the new magazine or lube it, whatever. But with these and I realize the 10 round doesn't look as cool as the 25 round, but shoots perfectly with that. So one thing I like about this rifle is they took a really reliable platform, which is the 1022. It's a classic, one of the all-time classic designs ever made, and they put it inside of this rifle. They didn't push it and try to make it look too much like an AR-15. They could have came out with some modified magazine that looked exactly like an AR-15 magazine. They could have done this, that. They didn't do that, and I'm glad they didn't. I love the AR-15. I love the way it looks. It's my favorite rifle of all time. But I don't want every single rifle out there on the market to look like an AR-15. So I'm glad they went in the direction they did and didn't push it. They didn't make it look too much like an AR-15. This rifle as is, it's an excellent rifle. I enjoy shooting it. I had a lot of fun with it. It's got a good trigger on it, just like any other Ruger 1022. Fires great, nice and crisp. And I imagine, you know, there's aftermarket triggers for the Ruger 1022. I imagine that would work in this. The MSRP on this is $649, but the retail on this, I've seen it for $487, so under 500 bucks. Not sure why Ruger always sets such a high MSRP, but their MSRP is always 10, 20, 30% higher than what the actual retail is. I think at under $500 though, I think this is a really, really good shooting rifle. This here also has a 50th anniversary marking on here. It's the 50th anniversary of the Ruger 1022. Disassembly of this is pretty simple, though it does take 3 different wrenches, Allen wrenches. There's 4 screws here that attach this top, flat top, to the 1022 receiver. Now it used to be you had to remove this in order to get it out, but you don't have to do that anymore. So you take out these 4 screws here, and then you take out these front 2 screws, and then this bottom screw, or excuse me, not screw, but bolt. So once we have all that taken down, this is what we have. Now this here is a 5/64 Allen wrench. That is a 5/32, and this is a 3/16. Once these are removed, it's simply a matter of, just like on a 1022, you put the safety halfway. If I can get it here. And pull it out. And this here should look familiar. This is a 1022 receiver right here. Configuration. So if you're on the market for a military style 22 rifle, you should definitely check this one out. It's an excellent rifle. I know you'll have a good time with it. It's well built, very solid, all metal, American made. And if you have any questions, let me know. Semper Fi, and God bless.